The Sky-High Deception, The Secret Life of Sarah Emma Edmonds. Imagine a young woman, barely 5 feet tall, enlisting in the Union Army during the deadliest war in American history, not as a nurse, but as a man. Her name was Sarah Emma Edmonds, but the soldiers who fought beside her knew her as Private Franklin Thompson of the 2nd Michigan Infantry. Her story is one of impossible bravery, astonishing deception, and a fight for recognition that spanned decades, becoming one of the most remarkable and improbable sagas of the American Civil War. The Escape from the North Woods. Born in New Brunswick, Canada in 1841, Emma's childhood was a relentless hardship. Her father, an abusive man obsessed with having a son, treated her with contempt. Desperate for a life of her own and fleeing an arranged marriage, the 16-year-old Emma chopped off her hair, donned men's clothing, and crossed the border into the United States. It was the only way she could find the freedom and independence she craved. For several years, she lived a life on the run, selling Bibles and working as a salesman. She was good at it, charming, quick-witted, and utterly convincing as Frank Thompson. She found a profound liberation in her disguise, a sense of self she had never known. Then war came.
The call to arms. When the first shots were fired at Fort Sumter in 1861, a fervent patriotism swept the North. Emma, now deeply rooted in the American Midwest, felt the pull. She enlisted as Franklin Thompson in the 2nd Michigan Infantry. The regiment was immediately plunged into the brutal reality of the Virginia campaigns. Private Thompson was no shrinking violet. He served as a male nurse in field hospitals, participated in grueling marches, and faced the terror of battle. At the First Battle of Bull Run, Franklin Thompson saw his first major action. He tended to the wounded under fire, dragging men to safety and assisting surgeons in the bloody chaos. His bravery was noted, but his most astonishing service was yet to come, a role that required supreme confidence and a mastery of disguise. Espionage. The impossible spy. Franklin Thompson was often chosen for dangerous tasks. He had a natural flair for languages, a gift for observation, and an uncanny ability to blend in. Union officers, impressed by his resourcefulness, began to utilize him as a spy. Her first mission was perhaps her most audacious. To infiltrate Confederate lines, Franklin Thompson transformed. Emma darkened her skin with silver nitrate, donned a wig, and disguised herself as a contraband, an escaped slave. She risked immediate execution if caught. She spent weeks inside the Confederate camps, listening to conversations, mapping fortifications, and noting troop movements. Her information was invaluable, contributing significantly to Union intelligence. Her disguises were legendary. She once posed as an Irish peddler woman, traversing enemy territory selling soap and apples, while meticulously logging the positions of Southern cannons. On another occasion, she became a black washerwoman, gathering laundry and secrets from high-ranking Confederate officers. These were not romanticized cinematic adventures. They were terrifying, lonely missions behind enemy lines where a single slip-up meant capture, torture, and a spy's ultimate fate. Franklin Thompson, or Sarah Emma Edmonds, executed them flawlessly. The fever and the fading. For 2 years, Franklin Thompson served with distinction, earning the respect and camaraderie of the men in the 2nd Michigan. She participated in critical battles like Yorktown, the 7 Days Battles, and Antietam. She was a model soldier, dedicated and reliable. But the constant stress, the grueling conditions, and the ever-present fear of discovery eventually took their toll. In the spring of 1863, during the siege of Vicksburg, she contracted malaria. She knew that going to a military hospital would mean a physical examination and the inevitable exposure of her secret. Faced with this impossible choice, Emma chose the path of self-preservation. Without telling anyone, Private Franklin Thompson deserted his post. She checked herself into a private hospital in Cairo, Illinois, recovering under her true name, Sarah Emma Edmonds. When she recovered, she knew she could never return to the 2nd Michigan. Franklin Thompson was a deserter, and the penalty was severe. Instead, she took up her real name and worked as a female nurse for the Union Army in Washington, D.C., continuing to serve her country without the disguise. The fight for honor. The war ended, and Emma lived a quiet, respectable life, eventually marrying and having children. But the shame of Franklin Thompson, deserter, gnawed at her. She had risked her life for the Union, served bravely, and yet her record was stained. In the 1880s, driven by a need to clear her name and to secure a pension for her war service, Sarah Emma Edmonds began the fight of her life. She reached out to her old comrades from the 2nd Michigan. What happened next is truly extraordinary. Far from condemning the deserter, her old commanding officers and fellow soldiers rallied to her defense. They testified to her brave service and confirmed her incredible secret. "The most loyal soldier I had," one officer stated. In 1884, after a years-long struggle, the U.S. Congress passed a special act. Sarah Emma Edmonds was officially recognized as a female soldier who had served as Franklin Thompson in the 2nd Michigan Infantry. Her desertion charge was removed, and she was granted an honorable discharge and a soldier's pension of $12 a month. A place in history. Sarah Emma Edmonds' saga didn't end with her pension. In 1897, she achieved a final, historic honor. She was admitted into the Grand Army of the Republic, the powerful organization for Union veterans. She was the only woman ever officially recorded as a member of the GAR. When she died in 1898, Sarah Emma Edmonds was buried with full military honors in Washington Cemetery, Houston, Texas. In 1901, she was reinterred in the Soldiers' Plot in the Washington Cemetery. The story of Private Franklin Thompson is a powerful reminder that history often hides its most incredible figures in plain sight. Sarah Emma Edmonds was more than a spy or a soldier. She was a pioneer who chose her own identity, fought for her freedom, and defied the societal norms of her time to serve the nation she came to love. Her life stands as an astonishing monument to personal courage and the surprising roles women played in America's foundational conflict.